photographer thing. I like big heavy cameras. Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about what camera I would actually get if my current camera died on me. So, got a great question from Franz Steenberger on my last video where I said Nikon adverts are crap. He says, "Hey Dom, just wondering, what if your trusty Nikon D700 bit the dust and for sake of argument there weren't any used D700s left on the market?" Ooh, that's the tricky bit there, because I was like, oh, let's just go get a second-hand one. Because my current D700 was a second-hand camera in itself anyway. What camera out of the current Nikon lineup would you actually go for? And I was like, oh, right, okay, yeah, interesting, good question. I'm just asking, since you pretty much slammed every new Nikon announcement, or camera announcement in general for that matter. Okay, I don't think I have. If you think I have, then you haven't actually been listening to what I've been saying. A lot of people think I'm very negative on all the cameras that come out, but you're wrong. Some of them I'm just pointing out the fact that there's many flaws with them, and I think some people are confused when they don't have somebody going, it's amazing, it's wonderful, woo! And you have a very cynical person like me who kind of distrusts the marketing guff that comes out and wants to find out the statistics before they actually kind of put their money down. So in fact, I'm going to, here's some examples of, for example, the Nikon Coolpix A. Yeah, I'm going to say I slammed that. I said it's got a bigger sense. In fact, what did I say here? Good bit here. You get a shallower depth of field. However, all sounding good so far. I'm liking it just now. It's a 16.2 megapixel lens sensor, which is pretty much... So anyway, go on saying, yeah, it sounds pretty good, but then I just slam it for its ridiculous price. The Nikon D800, what did I say here? But yeah, new camera that's come out from Nikon D800. It looks like it's going to be very good and very well used. Cool. So again, Nikon D800 said it was going to be great. The Nikon D610 announcement stuff. So it's the Nikon D610. It's exactly the same camera. There's almost nothing different with it. What they have done is they've slightly changed. What they're saying is that they slightly changed the shutter. So pretty much what I was saying before that bit is just saying, yeah, it was a very good camera, but this new one which has come out is exactly the same. So again, not really slamming it, but just pointing out the bit that's crap. Another thing that I was saying about the Nikon D800, people that will be using the D800 for weddings, a lot of wedding photographers said they'd use it. Will they be using it on the full size RAW? So again, that was more just throwing out a question there. And then the Sony A7R, it's a smaller body. It's able to have a very powerful sensor with great resolution, and which has been claimed to be a fantastic dynamic range and ISO and all that kind of stuff. So again, I'm pointing out the very good points of the cameras there. It's just that sometimes people go, oh my god, it's in a smaller body, woohoo! You don't need to go woohoo about any of that kind of stuff. So, first of all, listen to what I'm actually saying. I'm not slamming everything, but I am pointing out the things which are not necessarily great about it. Now, on to your question of what camera would I get if there's no D700s. Now, a minute ago, I was going through the Calumet magazine to see what's out there, and the current Nikon lineup is pretty much the D4, D3X, 800E, 800, 610, 300S, god that's been out for a while, 7100, 5300, D90, my god, is that still being sold? And 3200. So if my D700 were to bit the dust. Now what I use that camera for is weddings. It's very clean images at high ISOs, and the amount of information that's able to be recovered from the shadows is astonishing. It's absolutely fantastic. I haven't used a camera which is better than it. However, I do have 3 other cameras at the moment. I've got the, for example, I've got the Fuji S5 Pro, which is my other wedding camera. So whenever I'm shooting outside in the sunlight and I want a huge dynamic range, the raw files from the S5 Pro, again, is an old camera. Was this secondhand? I don't think I got it secondhand. But flawless, just absolutely amazing files from it. The other camera I've got is the Canon 550D, and I've got all the adapters so I can put all my Nikon lenses on that. And I haven't really used this for any sort of weddings. Have used it for sports, and I have used it for video and stuff like that. So that's kind of main reasons I'd use that. And would I take that to a wedding? Probably not. But for a sports thing, yeah, absolutely. And my other camera is the Canon 5D Mark II, which I have used at weddings as well, and is pretty goddamn good. But let's just say I didn't have all of those. But actually, if I am to go with your question here, and I'm using all of those, and I had a wedding coming up, and I didn't have my Nikon D700, I would happily just go use my Canon 5D Mark II. However, the one thing is, I would want to be using all my flashes. Now, the cool thing is, my Fuji S5 Pro, I can use that with all the Nikon lenses and flashes. So again, I wouldn't be like losing out because I don't have my Nikon D700 with me. But that's the main thing. If I were to be buying a new camera, it would definitely still be another Nikon. That because of the Nikon flash system, because all the flashes which I use, all the 910s or SB900s and stuff like that, the Nikon CLS creative lighting system, where your camera can communicate with your flashes, is very intuitive for me. I find it very good to use, easy to use, quick to use, and very, very efficient. So I wouldn't be kind of going, oh, I'm just giving up on Nikon, because I've got so many lenses and so many flashes that it would be not cost effective for me to just ditch the idea of another Nikon camera. So let's say my Fuji has also died as well. Now, what camera would I get? Well, the thing is, I probably would just, if it was a wedding coming up, I would rent some cameras. Possibly, most likely, it'd be the D800. I wouldn't bother with the 800E, I think that's pointless. I wouldn't go down to the D600 or the 610, just because when you've got a body, I'm going to even go with the Fuji here, when you've got a body which just feels this solid and this hardcore, that you feel like if you batter this or if you trip over and you knock it off the ground, it's rock solid. Every time I felt a 600, I haven't felt a 610, but I think it's exactly the same. It just feels, it feels more like a 550D. You know, it feels like a small, light, cheaply made camera. And I know everyone will go on and say, oh, it's not about the camera, it's about the sensor, it's about how well you take photos and all that kind of stuff. That's absolutely right. However, the confidence that you get in having something which you know that feels solidly built, and just hard as nails, and having a bit of weight in it, gives you that little bit more confidence to go and put it in places and hold it in angles and all that kind of stuff, which you possibly wouldn't have the confidence with if you're doing it with a light, flimsy little camera. Not many of you will probably get that. That might just be a man thing or a photographer thing. I like big, heavy cameras. So that might just be total nonsense to a lot of people. But it's having something which you think is absolutely rugged is what you want. So the D800 is more likely to be the one which I would go for. But at the moment, I would probably just be renting it because I think on Amazon it's still around about £2,000 worth of camera, and no matter how much I do, I can't really justify that amount of money to be spent on a camera, especially when I've got 3 other ones. I have a wife and I have a house which has a mortgage on it, and £2,000 would be the equivalent of about 8 months worth of my half of the mortgage being paid off there. So I'm just kind of going, 8 months of the mortgage or a camera? Oh, what would I rather do? When I could rent it for whatever situation I need it in, and it'd probably cost me about £100 per time I rent it. So if I've got a wedding, that's £100. That's not even 2 weeks worth of a mortgage kind of thing. So at the moment, there's nothing from Nikon that would make me kind of instantly go, I must buy that. If it was a case that I absolutely needed something and I was doing some headshots, doing some portraits, doing some simple stuff with all the flashes, I'd probably buy myself a Nikon D5300. Is it even that one, or is it 5200 or 5300 or the 7100? Because I think both of them got the Nikon CLS system in it, so I could use all my flashes with that. And I wouldn't really need super high ISO or amazing dynamic range or all that kind of crap, or fast frames a second or anything like that. In headshots, portraits, outdoor sports, don't really need to worry about that. But for weddings, the D700 is still my go-to camera. If I could afford the D800 and if I could afford the D4, I would definitely go for them. But for me, there would be just too much kind of like, what the hell? Like Kim would be just going, what the hell did you spend on a camera? I'd be in so much shit. But if money wasn't a matter, I'd probably just go for the D800 for that body type, size, weight, and all that stuff. I'd probably get an extra battery grip and extra batteries with it as well. That'd be the main thing. So that would be my tip. Hope that helps. Bye bye.